Happy 2021. Welcome back to our Kung Fu Canvas series. We are working our way through all of the different belts of the Kung Fu Canvas series in this Fast 15 Canvas webinar series. Every week we'll tackle a new topic. This week we are starting our blue belt, which covers discussions and quizzes. So this week we will look at the discussion topic and the different ways you can use discussions in Canvas. And next week we'll cover classic quizzes. All right, let's jump right into it. You access discussion from the instructor or student view right over here in course navigation. You'll notice that if it is disappeared, you can make it visible by clicking these three lines here. That will show the course navigation menu. And this is link happens to be listed towards the top. It could be at a different spot on your specific course navigation. And what loads here is called the discussion indexed page. So let's walk you through all the different features that are available in the discussion index page. First, you can choose which discussions you want to view. You can only view the discussions with unread posts, or you can choose all of them. The default is all. You can search by the title or keyword or the author's name if you want to look at specific posts. You can start a new discussion. You have discussion settings that you can manage, and then you have the ability to look at any discussions from the Commons as well. Let's jump into discussion settings because there's some very interesting ones in here. As I was working my way through the Kung Fu Canvas review, I did not realize that any unread replies are marked as read when you scroll past them. So if you are doing a graded discussion, you will want to make sure that that you, as an instructor, manually mark your post as read. So this is a really important feature to make sure that you check. Otherwise, a student may say, did you read my post? And it could show that it's read from their point of view, and that just means you have scrolled past it. So this is a good setting to make sure that you have enabled on your discussion index page. You also have settings here that are available for different students, and I would say some of these settings are probably more appropriate for older students. For example, you have the ability to enable the students to be able to create their own discussion topics, to edit and delete their own posts, and attach files to discussions. So when you check the box, that enables that feature. When you uncheck it, that disables the feature. So I'm going to save my new settings here. And let's talk about the way this index page is set up. We have pinned discussions, and we've talked before in previous Fast 15 sessions how important it is in Canvas to really make sure that the information that students need to access is really easy to find. I love this feature because if you have a pinned discussion, a discussion you want to highlight, discussion that's really important that you want all students to participate in, it's important to kind of keep it at the top of the page. And you can do that by taking these little handlebars, these 8 dots here, and when you click on it, you'll notice that it becomes movable and you can drag and drop it wherever you want it to go. I know from looking at the dots here that there are unread posts in this discussion. So I want to make sure I go in and look at those posts. So pinned discussion, you'll notice that this arrow is down. When I click on it, it goes to the side and the pinned discussions collapse. So this is a nice way to expand or collapse, knowing that little tool is available right there. Discussions are the current open discussions that are available in your course. And when you look at the discussion box or this table here, you'll notice that you can tell what the discussion title is, which sections it's assigned to. When you hover, you can see how many users it's been assigned to, and then when the last post was in response to that discussion. You can also see how many new discussions and then how many graded or ungraded and how many unread and total discussions or responses are visible. Whether it's published, so you can publish or unpublish it here, bookmarking the discussion. That is important in case you want to subscribe and get notifications whenever someone adds to that discussion. And then you have the ability to change discussion settings right from the index page. You can close for comment, which means exactly that. Students are not allowed to respond to it anymore. And I'll show you where those discussions go in just a moment. You can pin it, which will automatically put it in the pin discussion section at the top of the page. You can duplicate a discussion, which I love this tool in Canvas. You set everything up once and you can duplicate and reuse settings over and over without having to go in and manually recreate them. You can send to, so maybe you are teaching history and you want to share a discussion prompt that was really popular with your students with another history teacher. It's very easy to send that discussion ready-made to another institutional user. You can copy too. So if you teach multiple preps and you have multiple courses, you want to use the same discussion prompt, you can copy it to multiple courses in that respect. You can also share it to Commons, which is a lovely tool, and then you can finally delete that discussion as well. I would always close a discussion rather than delete it, because sometimes I'm a wordy type of person, and I labor over just the right way to phrase things. And so once I get it like that, I always feel bad for deleting it because I'm like, oh, that was really clever. How did I phrase that? So that way it's a nice reference to have. So let's talk about where things go when you close them. At the bottom of the discussion index page are the close for comments. So you'll always be able to go back and look at them. You can drag a discussion post or discussion into the close for comment section. It will automatically close it for all the users. So when we open up a discussion, at the top, we can see the discussion title, the discussion prompt. We can see how many unread replies there are and how many total replies there have been. Again, it gives us all of that important information. We can search again, so you have the ability to search within a discussion for an entry or an author. You can, let me double check that when I click this, I'm not going to mark them all unread. You can just view the unread responses, right? You can view the read responses. Oh, sorry, you can show the deleted responses. That's the I there. You can collapse all the replies. So you can just see at a screenshot or at a quick glance who has responded. You can see what their scores are as well. And then you can expand the replies as well. And then if you want to kind of keep track, maybe this is going to be an open thread in your course and you want to get immediate notification of whenever someone posts, that's what that subscribe button stands for. And then finally, you have the ability to reply. So when you reply, it opens up the rich content editor. You can add videos, you can add different formats or styles to your responses. You can attach a file because we've enabled that setting. Well, it's enabled for me as a course instructor. We haven't enabled it for students. You can do a word count. So maybe you want your students to respond with X number of words. You can do a quick check and make sure that that has been included. And then of course you have access to all of your other tools when you do a reply. So if you have something in Google that you want to add in there, you can drag it from Google as well. All right, so let's create a brand new, we've already talked about these features. You can, one of the ones we didn't talk about is when you open an individual discussion, you can mark them all as read right from the jump at the top. But let's go back and create a new discussion. So in my discussion, I have a couple different features that I want to highlight here. Remember, everything is going to need a topic title. That's a really important feature to include. And we've talked in the past about titles, giving as much information as possible about what students are, or a theme for that discussion. In the rich content editor, you can give your discussion norms. You can provide video. You can insert a video and have students respond to it. So we'll talk at the end about how discussions are a really great bell ringer activity that you can use to encourage student participation and engagement. You can assign if you have the sections enabled in your course, you can assign different discussions to different student user groups. You have the ability to create group discussions, which is fantastic. In fact, let's pause and kind of work our way through the different options. So threaded replies means that instead of one single thread, which responds to the initial prompt, you can have the ability for students to respond individually to each other, and that creates separate threads. So if you think of like a March Madness chart, how there's different threads that build off brackets that build off, that's similar to what the threaded replies option is. You can have users must post before they see replies, which again is a really great formative tool to see what a student has learned. Maybe use a discussion as an exit ticket and see what they learned before, and have them post their learning before they get to see the class responses. Enable podcast feed. I haven't played around a lot with that, but I do love podcasts. You can make a discussion graded. So a different way, a different form of assignment, especially if you want to do your bell work and you want students to be there on time and get something turned in on time, you have the option to make it graded. And when you check that box, that's when you get the points possible. And you can also make sure that the discussion is visible on the assignment page and the to-do list as well. And then you can allow liking. So if you want folks to be able to respond, a very rudimentary way that we use on social media is the thumbs up. So you can add that feature. Let's talk about group discussions. You'll notice I checked that box. This is one of my favorite like hidden gems and discussions that I didn't know about. So I'm going to pause right now and talk about why this group discussion is so important. Because you have the ability to create a journal using like an individual journal. You can use discussions to create individual journals for students. And in order to do that, you have to enable the group discussion. Now that seems counterintuitive, but bear with me. You're going to put a new group category. You're going to set the group name. So this could be something like your science journal, maybe a creative writing journal. Allow self-signups. So the other thing that they recommend in the Kung Fu Canvas course is you have to create more groups than students are in your course, because you want to accommodate for any new students that you may get. So if you have 30 kids in your course, they recommend creating 60 groups, right? And then you're going to limit to one person in each group, which is really cool. So you could label this as science journal, and you can post different prompts to the science journal, and everyone will get their individual prompt and then their individual response. So cool. I'm going to link, the video does such a good job of kind of explaining this. I'm going to link that in the description box of this video, just so you get to see it again, because we could spend a whole Fast 15 on how to create like different journals using the discussion feature. It's awesome. All right, I'm going to uncheck some of these boxes. And then the last part is really important. Make sure that you set when it's available from. That means students can't respond early or can't respond before it's available. And then when it closes. Remember we talked about, excuse me, that when it's set to close, it will automatically move from the open discussion down into the closed discussion. And then you can either, if you're ready to publish it, you can save and publish. If you want to keep this as a draft and come back and work on it, you can click save and it will not be published. Okay, let's see. Okay, I think I covered everything on there. Yep, I'm going to leave the site. All right. The next thing I want to talk about, you know what? I think we should probably watch. Oh, no. The next thing I want to talk about is the ways that we can use discussions as that bell ringer activity. So, you know what? I am going to do it. I wasn't going to do it, but I am. I think if you get anything out of today's session, it needs to be that you should go back and rewatch the Fast Track episode 30. Let's start a journal. And it's 2 minutes. So we have time in our Fast 15. We're going to watch it right now.
Hello, and welcome to the Canvas Fast Track. In this 2.5-minute video, we will discuss utilizing the discussion tool to create individual journals for personal blogs. While keeping a science journal or a creative writing blog is nothing new to education, moving this into the online space between a learner and their teacher is a definite modification of technology integration. The first step to this modified use and trick with discussions is to create a group for the personal journals. Then within that group, you'll want to create more groups than students enrolled in the course. That way, if students are enrolled after the start date or creation of the journal, you can easily add them to their own personal group. This personal group space will now allow you to start a group discussion where each student will be able to work, post, and create their own work privately with themselves and with you as the teacher. Once you assign your topic, like post a weekly reflection of what you learned this week, what you felt you struggled with, what you felt you excelled at, and what you're excited to learn about next week, students will start participating in the journal discussion. This is an ongoing post that will now date and timestamp when they're logging the information. This journaling idea can be used in multiple courses at multiple grade levels. Think of science journals, writing journals, reading logs, or personal blogs. By utilizing the ongoing discussion post, you will now have an extensive portfolio of student work throughout the school year, something that you will truly be able to monitor and track progress with. We will discuss in a future Fast Track video the idea of using groups as project-based learning spaces and light portfolios in Canvas. In the Fast Track series, we've not spoken of grading much because it's very individualized. However, for this journaling example, we want to share how easy SpeedGrader makes grading these individual posts. Canvas collects all responses and organizes them in order. So in the case of a video journal, you can quickly scroll through, watch week-to-week responses, and video respond back to your students, enhancing their feedback experience. Journaling can be used across the curriculum and modifying this task from an individual assessment to a more compiled collection of work. It's a huge change in student learning. With the type of students we're teaching today, adding in that video element will be excellent. Students are able to go back, look at time, they'll watch their videos, might seem vain, but they'll be very excited to watch their own progress of learning throughout the year. Your elementary students to high school students to even college students will enjoy watching them back. Thanks for watching. Please comment.
Okay, so one of the things that my biggest takeaway here is Canvas gives you the flexibility to use tools in a different way, right? And I think journaling, especially for our intermediate and secondary students, especially during this time of distance learning where they can do asynchronous activities where you can respond to them It's a really excellent tool to build and establish and build relationships with our students. And it gives us this historical look at where you started and here's where you're at. So this progression that we can review as well. So let's talk a little bit about how to do video discussions. We know that in 2020, TikTok was all the rage. Imagine how your students would freak out if you told them that you wanted them to essentially do a Canvas version of TikTok, right? To do a video response to you in a discussion thread. Amazing. So let's look at the student view. By the way, if you haven't noticed, these little eyeglasses at the top corner of every page, that is where you can access student view on every single page in Canvas now. You don't have to go back to the home screen and find it there. So as a student, I can open a discussion, I can reply, and remember we talked about how to do vlogging or video. If as a student I wanted to, or my discussion prompt was to ask students to film a TikTok style response to that prompt, I could do that. Now it's not going to have all the tools that TikTok has, but as a way to engage students, as a way to feel relevant and timely using tools that they've heard about or that they understand or speaks more to their level, you have the ability to upload or record media, right? So using the Canvas Studio, we can use that. We're going to click upload and record media. Now, there could be a file saved on the computer that they want to upload, but for this purpose, we're going to select the record feature. Now I have a document camera attached, which the webcam is looking at. We're going to go to FaceTime here. We have the ability to do our mic and webcam. And so you can have students record themselves as their TikTok response and attach that as a way to kind of engage in content in your classroom. You also, as the teacher, have the ability to, I need to leave student view, sorry about that, to post videos and have and respond to students as well. Your administrators can jump in the discussion chat and add responses, which if your building administrators are rock stars, how fantastic would that be? You can have other staff as well jump in there and respond in different discussions. The other thing I want to show you is how, as a teacher, you can add a video. So whenever you click the edit button, your rich content editor will open as well. You can, again, this discussion prompt is written. It's always a good idea to keep written directions. And also you'll notice that there are discussion norms listed on here. Very smart, best practice to follow. You could start it, this prompt by recording a video. I will do that. Let's go back to webcam. Hey kids, I want you to true story. It takes up most of the page. So you might want to have these discussion prompts available on a separate sheet of paper. I've seen people put it on their phone so they can see it, have it off to the side. But the screencast took up most of the page, so I wasn't able to do that. Again, let's notice that the options for this have a threaded replies. Users must post before seeing replies. Remember, that's a great formative assessment tool. You can use discussions as exit tickets as well as bell ringer activities for warm-ups. You can allow liking. Now, the thing that you should know about liking is that no names will be attached to the like. So it's a great way to use for polling or voting, especially if you want to have a discussion about changes or like hot topics. People can vote on which ones they agree with or like. using the liking feature. Oh, the other thing I should notice in a discussion, so if it's graded, you also have the ability, I'm going to make this graded just for the sake of demonstration. You have the ability to add rubrics or go to SpeedGrader from the options now. So let me move my face out of the way. If you are maybe doing, maybe you want to do a speech. Discussion is a great way to do a speech if you want kids to respond verbally and practice their speaking and or listening skills. You could attach that rubric to that discussion and you can jump right to SpeedGrader from the discussion as well. Remember, in order for those tools to be available, you do have to mark a discussion as graded. Again, one of the great things about using the discussion as a journal, it allows you to use that in-person instructional activity that we have used for years, journaling, whether it's a science journal, a writing journal, a reading journal, health diary, or notebook, and it allows you as the instructor to track and monitor the progress. You can think of it as kind of a portfolio approach. And you can also grade each of those entries from a student's response in SpeedGrader. So fantastic multi-use of different tools. Uncheck that box. In fact, I'm going to click cancel because I don't want to disrupt any of the issues, pardon me, any of the settings that were already included in this. Actually, I'm going to go back and uncheck the grading because it wasn't originally marked as grading. Okay. Remember, when you mark something as grading, graded as well, it also adds it to a student's to-do list. So that's another important feature. I'm a little rusty with podcasting, as you can, or webinar casting, as you can tell. I don't see any questions in the chat. So let's skip ahead and talk about what's coming up. All right, so next week we are going to cover classic quizzes. That's the last component of the blue belt. Then we'll jump right into the green belt and we'll cover modules, SpeedGrader, chat conference, and collaboration as well. Quick shout out, next week is our monthly Canvas users group. This is for any teacher, any classified staff member who is using Canvas and who would like to just come and talk about shortcuts that they're finding, or if they're having problems or issues. It's an unconference, which means informal way of talking about issues and getting things resolved. And then the last thing I'm going to do is make sure I have some bell ringer activities that I put in the description box of this video that's going to be posted to our YouTube playlist. So if you're kind of struggling as far as how to use discussion, one of my favorite things is the would you rather question, right? Keeping things light, keeping things fun, finding a way to engage students. And I love the would you rather. You could even download these PDFs and post it kind of as a picture and have students respond in that respect. So I'll post the link to this website. And then if you've ever utilized that textbook website, they have a post on their blog about 20 digital bell ringer activities. So I'll link to that as well so that you can have a look at that if you're kind of looking for some fresh ideas on how to grab students' attention and get them engaged in the learning that's going on in your classroom. Okay. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We'll see you next week when we talk about quizzes.